Imagine, just for a moment, an expansive sky.
Hmm.
It's completely clear, utterly boundless, and bathed in this crisp, brilliant light.
Right. There are no clouds at all.
Exact. No borders, just pure, unobstructed space. Because usually when we think about the concept of death in the West, we picture a heavy door closing.
Yeah, a final, absolute shutting down.
Right. But when you step into the world of Tibetan Buddhist literature, that heavy door simply vanishes. Instead, you're stepping out into that vast, luminous sky we just talked about.
It's just a totally different paradigm.
It really is. We are looking at a landscape of consciousness that is beautifully intricate and, infinitely spacious.
It is the absolute definition of a continuous flowing reality.
Yeah.
There's no abrupt end to who you are.
Right.
It's rather a profoundly fluid transition from one state of awareness to the next.
Yeah.
The consciousness simply continues unspooling according to its own momentum.
Welcome to our deep dive. Today, our mission is to explore one of the most profound and intricately beautiful texts in world literature. We're looking at the Tibetan Book of the Dead.
A truly incredible text.
It really is. And specifically, we are looking very closely at the detailed passages in chapters 11, that's part 3, and 13. We're going to focus our lens entirely on a space known as the Bardo of Rebirth. And as we do, we will be mapping out the actual mechanics of karma.
Yeah, and we really need to emphasize that we aren't looking at karma as some form of cosmic punishment here.
Exactly, not at all. It's more like the natural psychological momentum of our own minds.
Right.
So we're going to treat this narrative today like a thangka, those beautifully intricate Tibetan paintings on silk that map out the cosmos.
Oh, I love that analogy.
Yeah, we're going to unroll it slowly, step by serene step, exploring the profound clarity it offers to you, the listener.
To truly understand what this text is revealing to you, we really need to locate ourselves within the journey it describes.
Right. Where exactly are we starting?
Well, according to this tradition, when a person transitions out of their physical life, there are initial stages of the after-death state.
Yeah.
You're the bardo of the time of death and the bardo of reality.
And those are the spaces of incredibly bright, dazzling light.
Right.
Pure awareness.
Exactly. But if a person is unable to recognize that light, if their consciousness is not liberated in those earlier stages, they awaken here.
In the Bardo of Rebirth.
Yes. And it is crucial to set aside any preconceived notions of permanent punishment. This is not some final damnation.
Okay.
This bardo is a highly fluid, karmically driven state of mind where the consciousness, having lost its physical anchor, is simply seeking a new equilibrium.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the way the text describes the exact moment of awakening in this Bardo is incredibly vivid and honestly profoundly disorienting.
It really is a shock to the system.
Yeah. Imagine the transition. You wake up, you see your family, your loved ones gathered around in a room, and they are weeping.
Right.
So you walk right up to them, you call out saying, I am here, do not cry.
But they don't turn around.
Exactly. They simply cannot hear you. You walk over to a basin of water, and you look down, but you see no reflection staring back.
Oh, wow.
You step out into the sunlight, and you cast no shadow. It's this slow dawning realization that the rules of reality have fundamentally shifted.
What the text is describing here with such precision is the moment consciousness realizes it has assumed what is called a mental body, or yidless in Tibetan.
Yidless. Okay.
Yeah. You have left your dense physical form behind. Your awareness is now housed entirely in a body made of mental propensities.
But it's not like a ghost, right? Not in the Western sense anymore.
No, not at all. It is fully endowed with all sense faculties. Because it's unburdened by failing biological organs, it possesses a clarity of perception that far exceeds our ordinary waking state.
That's fascinating.
But the text is actually very specific about this. Even if a person was blind or deaf in their physical life, in this mental body, they can see and hear with absolute pristine perfection.
And the mobility of this mental body is completely miraculous. The text describes it passing unobstructed through solid rock, through mountains, even through the walls of dwellings.
Right.
It reminds me of moonlight passing through a glass window. The light is perfectly present. It illuminates the room, but it's completely unhindered by the solid physical object.
That's a beautiful way to picture it. You can travel anywhere in an instant just by directing your attention there.
Yeah, the text mentions there are only two places this mental body cannot penetrate, right?
Yes, a mother's womb and the indestructible seat, which is the site of pure enlightenment. Otherwise, your movement is completely unimpeded.
The mind is just no longer tethered by the heavy, sluggish nature of physical elements.
Exactly. The earth, water, fire, and wind that make up our biology are gone. It's pure, unobstructed energy, moving through a space defined entirely by the mind's own projections.
But wait, I am struggling to reconcile something here.
Sure, what is it?
If this body is purely a mental projection, I mean, if it has no central nervous system, no actual flesh, and no biological pain receptors, how does it actually feel a physical sensation?
Ah, that's a great question.
Because the text describes intense despair and deep suffering in this Bardo. How can a mental projection without nerve endings feel pain?
Well, that touches on the very core of how this tradition understands consciousness. It reveals the raw, uninsulated power of the mind.
Uninsulated, I like that word for it.
Yeah, because in our physical lives, our biology actually acts as a massive buffer. It's a shock absorber.
Right, like if you experience a flash of intense anger or fear, your body takes time to process it.
Exactly. Your heart rate has to rise, adrenaline has to pump, and eventually it has to metabolize and cool down. The physical world slows our reactions.
So in the Bardo, that biological shock absorber is just gone.
Completely gone. There is no buffer between a thought and the experience of that thought.
Yeah.
Emotions and karmic winds sweep the consciousness away instantly and totally.
Wow.
The text uses this beautiful, delicate metaphor, comparing the wandering mental body to a feather on the wind. It is entirely at the mercy of the vital energy of its past actions.
So if a thought of fear arises, you don't just feel afraid.
No, the environment around you instantly shapes itself into a terrifying landscape because there's no dense physical matter to stabilize or delay your perception.
The environment literally becomes the emotion.
Yes, exactly.
Because the mind is projecting so instantly and so powerfully, it eventually manifests the ultimate projection, which is the accounting of its own life.
Right, the judgment.
And the text visualizes this not as a quiet internal realization, but as a highly theatrical event. This takes us into chapter 13, which is framed as a masked drama of rebirth. The deceased meets Yama Dharmarāja, the Lord of Death. And the trial that unfolds is this fascinating visualization of cause and effect.
What's fascinating here is how the theatricality acts as a brilliant teaching tool. It takes the highly abstract concepts of mind and psychological momentum and renders them into vivid, unforgettable symbols. The court of Yama is essentially the ultimate unvarnished mirror of the self.
So the deceased is brought before Yama, and the text externalizes the inner workings of the mind. You have an inner good conscience that stands beside you.
Gathering up all your past virtues.
Exactly, which are represented by these glowing white pebbles. And then your bad conscience is right there as well, gathering up your non-virtues, represented by heavy black pebbles.
And these pebbles are placed onto a great scale.
To understand the mechanics of this, we have to look at what those pebbles actually represent. It's not magic.
No, not at all. It is psychological inertia.
Yeah.
Every time you act out of anger or cruelty in your physical life, you are essentially carving a channel into your consciousness.
You're creating a habit.
Yes. That habit is a black pebble. Every time you act out of compassion or patience, you are carving a different channel, a white pebble.
And in the waking world, we distract ourselves from these channels all the time.
Constantly. But in the Bardo, stripped of earthly distractions, the consciousness simply flows into the deepest grooves it has carved. The weighing of the pebbles is simply the weighing of your mind's own habitual momentum.
And the drama gives us specific, relatable characters to illustrate this. There is a sinner named Laksanaraka who stands before the scale and tries to lie.
Oh, right. He says, I didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah. He tries to completely deny his negative actions, but Yama Dharmarāja simply pulls out the all-seeing mirror of past actions.
And in this mirror, every single truth is vividly, undeniably reflected. You just cannot lie to the mirror.
But the mirror also reflects the light. There is a householder named Srijata who spent his life doing small, quiet things.
Building statues, clearing rocks and thorns from public roads so travelers wouldn't trip.
Exactly. And those small acts of kindness are perfectly reflected in the mirror, heavily outweighing his faults with white pebbles.
We have to be very careful with how we interpret the figure of Yama Dharmarāja holding that mirror, though.
Oh, so?
Well, it's very easy for someone approaching this text from a Western paradigm to see Yama as an external, punishing entity.
Right, like a divine judge sitting on a throne dealing out retribution.
Exactly. But that completely misses the profound internal logic of the text. Yama is the pure, objective embodiment of the infallible laws of cause and effect.
He is your own mind, holding up a mirror to itself.
Yes. The judgment happening in this court is fundamentally a process of inner reckoning. Your own clinging, your own kindnesses, your own cruelties, they are simply coalescing into a new equilibrium.
But wait, if Yama is just a projection of our own mind, if he's just a symbol of our own internal cause and effect, why does our mind project something so uniquely terrifying?
That's a really important question.
Because the text doesn't describe a neutral mirror holder. It describes Yama tying a black noose around the neck of the deceased, dragging them. He is a towering, frightening figure. Why would our own unbuffered mind choose to project a monster?
Because of the immense weight of our latent guilt and our unacknowledged psychological shadows. In our waking life, we're incredibly skilled at suppressing our negative actions. We rationalize our selfishness, we justify our anger, and we lock our guilt away in the basement of our subconscious.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Right. But as we established earlier, in the Bardo, the basement doors are blown wide open. That latent guilt, those unacknowledged fears, they erupt outward.
And they manifest as objective, undeniable realities.
Exactly. The black noose the text describes is the literal feeling of being trapped by your own past actions.
Yeah, okay.
The terror of Yama is the profound terror of facing yourself completely unmasked. The mind projects a monster because deep down we're terrified of the karmic debt we know we have accumulated.
That brings such a lucid, striking clarity to the imagery. It is a nightmare, but it's nightmare entirely of our own construction.
Completely.
And the text does not shy away from the visceral details of this nightmare. For those whose scales tip heavy with black pebbles, the host of Yama's acolytes descends.
It gets very intense here.
It does. The text describes them literally tearing the mental body apart, extracting the heart, pulling out the entrails, cutting off the head. It is vivid, unyielding suffering.
But then there is a massive, beautiful twist in the narrative.
Yes. After the mental body is torn to pieces, it is immediately revived.
Mm-hmm.
The body restores itself, only to be torn apart again.
Over and over.
Right. Why? Because the deceased cannot die. They are already dead. They inhabit a mental body.
And right there, hidden within the most terrifying imagery of the text, is the most liberating core teaching of this entire section.
It's the pivot point of the Bardo of Rebirth, really.
Yes. The text practically shouts through the pages, directly instructing the deceased to recognize the true nature of their reality.
It says, you have a mental body. Therefore, the weapons slicing you are nothing but emptiness.
The terrifying acolytes holding those weapons are emptiness.
And your own mental body, being torn apart, is entirely emptiness. The ultimate unshakable truth is this: emptiness cannot harm emptiness.
Emptiness cannot harm emptiness. It's so profound.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the moment you recognize that emptiness, the entire dynamic of the Bardo shifts.
It really does.
It perfectly mirrors the experience of being in a vivid nightmare. We've all experienced this. You know, you're running down a dark hallway, something awful is chasing you, your chest is tight, your fear is absolute.
Oh, absolutely.
But then something clicks. You experience a moment of lucid dreaming. You suddenly realize, I am asleep in my bed. This environment isn't real.
Right.
And the moment you realize you're dreaming, the monster chasing you completely loses its teeth. The dark hallway isn't terrifying anymore, it's just a projection. It makes me wonder, is the entire goal of this specific Bardo simply the attainment of a lucid death?
That is a phenomenal conceptual bridge. Yes, it is very much about achieving a lucid death.
Wow.
Recognizing the essential nature of the fear, that it is just a stark, unfindable emptiness, instantly transforms that very fear into a state of radiant awareness.
So the pain and the terror only exist because the consciousness is still frantically clinging to dualistic perceptions.
Exactly. It is still splitting the universe into two opposing forces, subject and object, or me and the thing harming me.
But the moment you realize that the monster, the weapon, and your own body are all made of the exact same dream stuff.
The exact same spacious emptiness.
Right, that duality entirely collapses. The illusion of separation just shatters. The fear dissolves. And what remains is simply clear, unclouded, luminous awareness.
It is an incredibly beautiful realization, just letting the sheer spaciousness of that truth wash over you.
But the text is deeply pragmatic, isn't it?
Very.
It knows that recognizing emptiness while you feel like you are being torn apart by your own guilt is, well, incredibly difficult.
To say the least, yeah.
So if the consciousness still fails to recognize the illusory nature of this reality, what happens next?
Well, the text explains that the psychological exhaustion of being blown around like a feather by the karmic winds becomes too much.
You just get tired.
Deeply tired. The desire for a physical body, for any kind of solid anchor, becomes completely overwhelming.
And this is when the six lights begin to shine in the landscape of the Bardo.
Yes. The mind is desperately reaching out for a port in the storm.
The consciousness is fatigued by its own unanchored projections, so it craves the solidity, the boundaries, and the limits of physical form.
And so the deep-seated habitual propensities of the mind begin to draw the consciousness toward a new rebirth, which is represented by these specific colored lights.
The text lists these 6 lights very clearly, and they correspond to the 6 different realms of cyclic existence.
Right.
There is a dull white light, which pulls consciousness toward the realm of the gods, a dull red light for the realm of the antigods, a dull blue light for the human realm, a dull green light for the animal realm, a dull yellow light for the realm of anguished spirits, and finally, a dull smoky light for the hell realms. But I have a genuine question here. Why are all these lights specifically described as dull?
It's a great observation.
Because in the earlier chapters of the Book of the Dead, the lights of pure ultimate liberation are described as brilliantly bright, almost overwhelmingly dazzling. Why would a mind that is finally free from physical limits seek out a dull, smoky light instead of the brilliant, blinding light of true freedom?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that question cuts to one of the most profound psychological observations in Buddhist philosophy. Why do we seek the dullness?
Yeah, why?
Because human beings, burdened by accumulated karma and deeply ingrained habitual tendencies, relentlessly seek the comfort of the familiar.
Ah.
The brilliantly bright lights of ultimate liberation require us to completely let go of our ego. They require the total dissolution of our identity, our stories, and our clinging.
And for a mind that is driven by habit, that total dissolution feels like an annihilation.
It is terrifying. We flinch away from the bright light of ultimate freedom because it demands the absolute surrender of the self.
So instead, we're drawn to the soft, dim, dull lights because they represent exactly what we already know.
Exactly. The cyclical, familiar world of desires, jealousies, and physical form. For instance, the dull green light of the animal realm represents the familiar comfort of pure, unthinking instinct.
And the dull, smoky light of the hell realms.
That represents the familiar, burning certainty of our own anger. We actively choose the dimness of ignorance because, to a frightened ego, it feels safer than the blinding light of ultimate reality.
We choose the dimness because it feels safe. That is an incredibly powerful realization.
It really is.
But true to its nature, the text doesn't abandon the listener there. It provides incredibly specific, actionable instructions on how to navigate this dangerous pull.
It does. It outlines methods to obstruct the womb entrances.
Right. So if you find yourself being pulled toward a lower existence, say you feel drawn toward the dull green light of instinct or the dull red light driven by jealousy, you have the agency to stop it.
Yes. The text advises giving up jealousy immediately, letting go of attachment, and intensely meditating on compassion.
It specifically suggests visualizing Mahakarunika, the great compassionate one.
It's about actively using positive mental states to steer the consciousness away from suffering and secure, at the very least, a precious human birth where you can continue to learn and practice.
It serves as a remarkable, deeply compassionate safety net.
And this perfectly highlights the ultimate lifeline provided by the text itself. We must remember that the full traditional title of this work translates to The Great Liberation by hearing.
By hearing.
Yes. The core mechanism of this text is the belief that just hearing these instructions, even as a disembodied mental body drifting in the Bardo, acts like a powerful catapult.
Because the mental body is so incredibly light, so utterly unbuffered by dense physical matter, a single moment of clarity can change everything.
Exactly. A single reminder of the teachings, echoing into the Bardo, can instantly redirect the consciousness. It can completely shatter the dense momentum of negative karma in a fraction of a second.
It's exactly like being trapped in that nightmare, running down the dark hallway, and suddenly hearing a calm, clear voice from the waking world whisper into your ear, "You're dreaming."
Oh, perfect analogy. It instantly changes the entire trajectory of the experience.
It really does. And when you step back and look at this entire journey through the Bardo of Rebirth, you realize it is ultimately a mirror. It's a perfect reflection of how our own minds operate right now, today, in our waking lives. We are constantly driven by the momentum of our past actions. We are desperately seeking solid ground and familiar habits. And we are continuously projecting our inner states, our latent guilt, our joy, our unresolved fears onto the world and the people around us.
The profound, enduring clarity of the Tibetan Book of the Dead is the realization that it isn't simply an esoteric manual for the moment of dying.
Right.
It is, fundamentally, a highly detailed manual for living. By carefully observing our mental habits today, by paying close attention to the white and black pebbles we are carving into our consciousness with every interaction.
And by examining how we react to our own fears right now.
Exactly. We are actively preparing for that ultimate transition. If we can learn to recognize the illusory, empty nature of our anger or our clinging while we are alive, we will effortlessly recognize it when it manifests as Yama Dharmarāja in the Bardo.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? It means the profound work of liberation isn't waiting for you at the end of your life. It is happening right now, in this very second.
You are painting the landscape of your own Bardo with every single thought you choose to entertain.
And that should be received as a message of profound, luminous hope.
Yeah.
It means you are the architect of your own experience.
You are not at the mercy of an external judging deity. You possess the innate power to cultivate a mind of vast, radiant clarity.
You have the agency to choose the light.
Yes.
I want to leave you with a final, provocative thought to mull over as you go about your day. Something that builds on the deeply psychological mechanics we've been exploring. If the Bardo is essentially an unbuffered projection of our subconscious mind, free from physical limits, are we inadvertently rehearsing for the Bardo of Rebirth every single night when we fall asleep?
Oh, that's a fascinating thought.
Right. When your physical body powers down, your biological buffer drops, and your mind is left to wander its own unhindered dreamscapes, you are essentially entering a mini Bardo.
You really are.
So when you dream tonight, and a sudden moment of fear arises, or a dark shape appears in the shadows of your mind, will you remember the teaching?
Will you remember that emptiness cannot harm emptiness?
Will you remember to look for the lucid light?
It is a truly beautiful and transformative practice to carry with you into the night.
Thank you for taking this deep dive with us today. May you carry this clarity, this expansive spaciousness, and this deep serenity into your waking life and into whatever dreams may come.